Hello, everyone. Welcome to Wind Down Wednesdays. I'm your host, Paula Taylor, and this is episode 91. So tonight we are going to talk about miracles. And what is a miracle? So my answer for that is whatever the heck you want it to be. And we're going to talk more about that. I think that miracles are really about perspective and perception. And we're going to talk about that. But first I want to jump into the reason this topic came to me this week, because I usually tell a little bit of a story, and I want to start there tonight and then kind of get more into the topic. So I have a very close friend who had surgery this week on Monday, and it was a really major surgery. And it was a surgery that was supposed to last up to about 7 hours. It was a complicated surgery. There were a lot of things that could go wrong. And so I've been doing a lot of energy work for this person leading up to this, sending energy, making crystal grids. There's a crystal grid. I'm pointing to the grid that's in the corner of my room. And there were other people praying for this person. There was a lot of loving energy being directed at the outcome of this surgery at this event. And so, as I mentioned, it was supposed to last up to about 7 hours, somewhere between 5.5 and 7 hours. So there were me and one other person were there at the hospital with this, waiting for this surgery, waiting, in the waiting room while the surgery was happening. And we were getting text updates. So we both came, we had all this stuff to do. I brought all these snacks. Like we were expecting to be there for quite some time. And we were getting these text updates, which is really cool, having been on both ends of receiving a surgery and then waiting on someone. I think it's actually harder during the surgery for sure. If you're the person waiting afterwards, it's probably a lot harder to be the person who had the surgery. But it's really nice to get those kind of updates. So we were getting these text updates, we're in the operating room. The person has been given their medications. The surgery is going well. Like about every 30 minutes or so, we were getting these text updates. And about less than 3 hours, is that right? Let me make sure my math is right. Yeah, less than 3 hours after they took the person back for surgery, a text update came that said, we're closing up the incision. And we were both like looking at our watches, like, what? How is this possible? Like, this surgery was supposed to be a minimum of about 5 hours and maximum of about 7. So it hadn't even been 3 hours. And we were both kind of like, whoa, that seems like, a good sign. And so then the surgeon came out to talk to us a little while later, and he said that everything went so much better than he could have possibly expected it to go, that there was no bleeding, that all of the hardware that was going in went in exactly the way it needed to go. And then he said, I don't know if it was an Easter miracle, but I've never seen anything quite like it. Something like that. I'm paraphrasing. I'm probably not. But he definitely said, I think it was an Easter miracle. He used the words Easter miracle. And when he said that, like every hair on my body kind of stood up. And I got the feeling that I get when I get in awe of something, when something feels physically, emotionally, and energetically, spiritually expansive to me. I spend a lot of time getting in touch with my intuition, and I'm getting much better at recognizing, more so like when things are not feeling intuitively good to me than I used to, or at least acting on them. But he came out and he said it was an Easter miracle, and like I was like, ha! I would have actually stood up and done that, except, I don't know, they might have had security escort me out or something. And we were both, thrilled. Beyond thrilled, super excited. And to me, it's always amazing when you see dividends of this energetic work, of, the energetic preparations that were being done for this event absolutely paid off. And it may have gone that way either way. If we had done no energetic preparations, if we had had no one praying for this person, but I don't believe that. I believe that it was a miracle. And I was a little bit shocked that the doctor used that term. I've worked with doctors a long time, and they're usually very careful about the words they use. They're very careful about kind of being overly enthusiastic or getting people's hopes up. And so it felt very miraculous. It felt very expansive and joyful. But then here's the thing. After the miracle comes the space between. I named this tonight's show is called Miracles in the Space Between. So after the miracle of how amazingly well the surgery went, comes the recovery. And the recovery is hard, and the recovery is painful, and it's painful emotionally to watch somebody in physical pain and trying to recover. And as well as the recovery is going, which that is also a thing, it doesn't change the fact that there's a lot of pain involved, that there is this recovery. And so it got me thinking about miracles. What makes up miracles? What makes something a miracle? And it got me thinking a lot about how we forget about the miracle, because right after the miracle comes whatever the space between. And the space between miracles could be just the mundane, like everyday life. You have this miraculous feeling experience, and then like, ho hum, I'm back to work. Or it could be this miraculous experience, or, this outcome that is so much better than you could have expected it to be. But then there's the recovery, right? So it's easy to forget about the magic and the mystery of the miracle when time just keeps moving on in this, apparently linear fashion. We're not going to get into that. So I want to talk about what makes up a miracle. How do we start to notice more miracles in our life? And how do we decrease that space between miracles? And I think it's really all about perspective and perception. Those are kind of the words that came to me. So the first thing is that one person's miracle might be another person's non-miracle. And that's why I said my definition of a miracle is whatever the heck you think it is. If you think it's a miracle and it feels miraculous to you, if you have an expansive experience of it, it's a miracle as far as I'm concerned. We're not going with the old school Catholicism, this and this and this has to happen. So one person's miracle might be another person's bad luck. One person's miracle might be another person's So that is about perspective, the way that you're looking at something. It's about your worldview. It's about the trauma that you're carrying. If you're carrying so much trauma that your energetic space is full of nothing but kind of trauma, and what's reflected back to you in your outer experience is this kind of heavy, depressive, traumatic gunk, then you're maybe not going to see a lot of miracles. You're not going to have the perspective to label something a miracle, because you are the one who can label something a miracle. That is my perspective on miracles. But the other thing is that you have to perceive the miracle. So if you are not in the present moment, if you're not in awareness, then the miracle's just going to pass you by. It's just going to go right by you, especially if it's like an everyday miracle. There's big, huge miracles. There's everyday miracles. And what I have found and am finding in this spiritual journey that I'm on, that I talk about a lot, is that the more awake and aware and present I am, the more miracles I see. The more I recognize the miraculous in those everyday moments, so that the space between miracles shrinks. I had a miraculous experience several years ago that I write about in my book. In the intro to my book, I talk about the expansive, miraculous experience I had that led me to this spiritual integration process that really kind of kicked me into like a new gear. I was doing this work. I've been doing it for a long time, but that it kind of ramped everything up for me. And for about several weeks even after that, I was in an altered state. I was not in the same state. I was in a super heavy depression, a suicidal depression. And then all of a sudden it was like gone. And I talk about it in my book. I felt a little bit guilty because it was like one day I was like, well, I guess I'm going to end it all. I don't know how I'm going to do it. I didn't even have enough energy to make a plan, really. I had completely lost my faith in anything bigger than myself. And then I had this amazing, incredible, expansive, miraculous experience where I had a direct experience of that unconditional love, of that divine light, of God, of source, of spirit, whatever word you want to use for it. And it completely changed my perspective and my perception. When we open our perception, that tends to shift our perspective. They're pretty tied into each other. But then a lot of time went by and that experience kind of fades. That's kind of how people are. We have a really intense experience, whether it's good or bad. And then eventually that experience kind of fades. But as I started doing more and more and more of this work, as that work ramped up, as I jumped into another gear or another timeline or whatever word you want to use for that, and I started practicing more and more often and opening more and more and letting go, unlearning that trauma response, I started to have those kind of experiences more and more often. And sometimes, again, it's a little miracle. It's an everyday miracle. It's not, I think sometimes we're expecting these huge things. And so we're not having the perception to catch the little things. But I would say now, I just talked over the last couple weeks about how overwhelmed I get with joy and awe, and how it brings tears to my eyes. And sometimes I get frustrated with it because I'm trying to talk, I'm trying to communicate, and I'm so in awe that I don't have words, I just have emotion to express. And that happens to me so often now. The space between miracles is shrinking for me because of this work that I do, because of the toning and the sound healing and the expanding and the spiritual integration and the spiritual tool building and the spiritual processing, all of the things that I've talked about for the last 90 episodes on this show are the reason that the space between my miracles grows smaller and smaller and smaller. And eventually, there might be almost no space at all. I find it miraculous that I woke up this morning. I find it miraculous that I am here and able to share this with you, that my body moves, that I have all the abundance that I have in my life. It's a little bit like gratitude. The more you recognize how many miracles are around you, the more miracles you see. And then I still have those huge expansive experiences. I did that first sound bath, and I was in an altered state for several weeks after that. And I would say I'm back to normal now, but it's a new normal. It's completely shifted my perception, which shifts your perspective. That's a lot of shifts and a lot of P words. It shifted my perception. I still can't do it. It shifted both my perception and my perspective. I will just end it there. I'm tongue-tying myself tonight. So I could say, oh, I had this expansive experience. It was so amazing. But it's been a few weeks and I'm just me again. But I'm not. I'm me, but better. I'm me, but more expanded. I'm me, but more miraculous. And we talked in the last couple episodes about how scary that can be. So let's talk in tonight's episode a little bit about how joyful that is, how awesome that is, how going into this surgery, I told my friend, I am not worried. We have nothing to worry about. This is going to go as well as it possibly can. And I had, no doubt about that. I had no fear about it because I knew deep down in that intuitive space that it was going to be miraculous. And so then when the doctor came out and used the word miracle, I had another one of those shifts in my perception, in my perspective. I expected a miracle, and a miracle happened. We create our reality. And does that mean that nothing bad is ever going to happen again? No. Does that mean that I could have expected a miracle and maybe it wouldn't have happened? Maybe. We don't know for sure. We are in this reality. We are still figuring things out. We are shifting from this 3D reality to what people call 5D reality to what I call multidimensional living. So there is a timeline in which that surgery did not go well. There is an infinite number of timelines in which that surgery had the worst possible outcome, all the way up to the one we're in. But I fully believe that the spiritual work that we did as a team leading up to this, and I'm talking about a physical team, the people that are here on this plane, and that amazing spiritual support team that I saw in the operating room, we worked as a team and we created that miracle. We created the reality in which the best possible outcome is what happened. And we have that power. And every time we choose that, every time we choose the highest good, because that's the other thing we talk about. What if the highest good wasn't the best possible outcome in terms of how quickly the surgery went, or whether there was bleeding, or how the hardware went in, or how good the results were? We don't know that for sure. But when we pray for the highest good, when we expect the best possible outcome, sometimes we get that. And sometimes it lines up with what our ego wants, because there's ego involved there too. But the more I get my ego out of the way, I told my friend that I almost felt bad because I was very calm. I had no fear going into this. And that is a sign that you're out of that ego space. Because if I'd been in the ego space, I would have been really worried about the outcome, because that's natural. I maybe would have been worried about, attached to the outcome of my energetic work. Oh, what if I did all this energy work and it doesn't pay off, and this doesn't go well? Like, it's really easy to get in that, especially when you really care about someone. And I love this person. I wanted this to go as well as it possibly could. But I stepped outside of that little me, that ego me. I expanded out into that divine me. And I just kept sending that unconditional love for the highest good, for the highest good, for the highest good. And a miracle happened. And miracles can happen in every single moment of our lives. And again, that doesn't mean that the people we love won't get sick or struggle or die. That doesn't mean that we don't still have ups and downs. Again, we had the miracle and it was a huge up, and now there's the recovery, and that feels like a down. But even within that, there are miracles. There is quicker progress than was expected. There are the moments that I get to spend with my friend, being fully present, giving her energy, giving her my love, and being present with her. That is a miracle. Everything about our existence is a miracle when we can be in that perception. We talked last week about sitting in the mystery. The mystery is the miracle. That space between breaths, that silence that allows us to experience who we truly are, which is a being of divine light and love, which is an aspect of God itself. The more time we spend in that space, the more expanded and clear and harmonized we get. And the more that perception and perspective allows us to recognize and claim these miracles. We have to see them, we have to perceive them, And then we have to have the perspective to understand that it is a miracle, to experience it as a miracle. And it's work. It's this practice. It's coming back over and over again to the present moment. It's taking deep breaths. It's doing sound healing. It's doing energy healing. It's doing body work. It's doing therapy. All of the things, physical activity that keep moving that energy to that goal of being able to process in the moment. Beyond that goal of being able to process in the moment, to that goal of awakening as a multidimensional being, of feeling and seeing not only your light, but the light in everyone around you. The light in that doctor who was a little bit in shock and awe at how well that surgery went, and I could feel that from him. This is the gift. This is the reason that we do this work. So for tonight's meditation, we're going to come into that silence again. We're going to come into that mystery. We're going to come into that miracle. And we're going to invite in that perception and that perspective that allows us to start recognizing those miracles, small, big, every day, every moment, occasional, all of them. The more we see, the more there are to see. And that in itself is a miracle. So let's meditate together. So find a comfortable position for this meditation. If you'd like to sit up, make sure that you feel supported. If you're lying back, you might put a bolster or blankets under your knees or something under your neck. Let your body come into a comfortable position so that you can focus on the present moment. Let go of anything that happened up until this moment. Let go of anything that happens after this moment. Give yourself permission for the next little bit of time to come fully into the present. And you can start doing that by focusing on your breath. Don't control your breath tonight. We're just going to focus on it. Notice as it comes in and out. Notice how it feels. Notice if it feels tight. And don't judge yourself. Just notice. You might notice as you start to pay attention to your breath that it will naturally begin to deepen. Allow that to happen, but don't force it. Let go of that need to be in control. If you're prompted to take a deep breath, as I just was, let yourself do that. But just spend the next few moments noticing how you're breathing. Noticing how your body feels, coming fully into the present, coming into the body, not just a floating head, not just a ball of thoughts floating around in your reality, but an actual physical being. All of this beautiful space in your physical body to occupy, to settle into. Notice whatever part of your body is contacting the floor or the ground, or if you're lying on your back, notice that feeling of your entire back against the surface you're lying on. And again, let yourself breathe naturally here. If you're called to take deeper breaths, you can do so. If you're called to take some oxytocin breaths and you like to sigh them out, using that audible ha sound, you can. But let go of the need to control. Let go of the need to control your body. If it wants to move or relax in a certain position, let it do that. If you feel prompted to shake or shimmy or jump up and down a little bit, move any part of your body, let yourself do that. And then as you're ready, you can come still. And again, just notice your breath. Pay attention to your breath. Pay attention to the little pause at the top of your breath. And as you exhale, give yourself an extra moment or two to really exhale all of that breath out, all of that energy traveling down into the earth to be recycled. And then notice that space at the bottom of your breath, at the end of your exhale. And as you inhale again, on your own time, let your body guide you. Notice the pause at the top of the breath. And as you exhale, let all of that air out, let all of the stagnant energy that you've been holding on to today exhale down into the earth for the highest good. And then stay in that little space at the bottom of your breath for a moment or two. And then naturally allow your body to breathe back in. Noticing that pause at the top of the breath. Exhaling out all of the fear, all of the tension, anything you're carrying that no longer needs to be held. Sigh that out and then sit for a moment in that silence between breaths. So as we get into the visualization, continue breathing in this way. Noticing the little pause at the top of the breath. Letting yourself sigh out any fear, any energy that's no longer serving you. And then noticing that little silence, that little space at the bottom of your breath. And as you're ready, start to just allow that word miracle to come into your thoughts. Perhaps as soon as you think of that, you get a vision of something or a feeling or a memory. Let yourself be drawn to whatever calls your attention here. Maybe it's a memory of a big miraculous event. Maybe it's a feeling about something you'd like to happen in the future. Maybe it's a perfect little moment that you had earlier today. Perhaps the whole rest of the day did not feel miraculous, but there was one moment. And as usual, if nothing's coming up for you, that's fine. Just keep breathing. Keep focusing on those spaces at the top and bottom of your breath. The space between the breath, the mystery, the miracle. The breath is a miracle. Breathing in, filling your cells with life-giving oxygen so that they can function efficiently. Breathing out and releasing toxins. Your lungs release the most toxins of any system in your body. What a miracle. And then notice the spaces between. And if you're being called into a memory, if you're being called into a thought about miracles, let yourself go there. Let yourself be in the miracle, in the mystery. And think about what kind of a perception you had in that moment. Did it seem like time slowed down? Did you have a feeling of being in the right place at the right time? Did you have a feeling that the stars were aligning, that something was working behind the scenes in your favor? Did you have a feeling of expansiveness, of joy, of awe? What did it feel like to be in a miraculous moment? again, if nothing comes up for you, that's fine. Just focus on the breathing, the miracle of your breath. You can come back and repeat this meditation as many times as you'd like. And now think about what your life would feel like, what it would look like, what it would be if you allowed that perception, that perspective of that miraculous event to permeate every moment of your day. What if you looked for miracles? What if you easily named miracles? Oh, the parking spot opened up for me. What a miracle. My hair looks amazing today. What a miracle. Little everyday miracles. Increasing your joy, increasing that expansion, so that when the big miracles come along, you are ready. You are truly in the moment, experiencing the awe and the mystery and the joy. So for the next few moments, as you'd like, you can continue to sit in this visualization, in this exercise of feeling the miraculous and opening to recognizing and celebrating all of the miracles in your everyday moments moving forward. Or you can continue to focus on the breath, the miracle of the breath, breathing in that space at the top, that silence, that mystery. Exhaling fully, releasing all those toxins from your body, and then sitting for a moment at the bottom of the breath before your body naturally breathes in again. Stay with whichever one of these exercises calls you. back to the breath now, letting your body breathe in its own rhythm, freeing it up, letting go of control, allowing the breath to float in, noticing that little pause at the top of the breath, and then exhaling, letting the body exhale, fully letting yourself relax and grow heavy. Every moment of our existence has the potential to be a miracle. Our existence itself is a miracle. You are a miracle of divine light and love. Invite that perception in. Invite yourself to see the many miracles that are gifted to you in each moment, in each day, in each week and month and year. Guide your mind now back to this moment. Perhaps it's wandered, that's okay. Affirm with me out loud, I am fully present in my body. I am fully present in my body, and miracles surround me in every moment. I am fully present in my body, and I am in awe of my miraculous existence. As you're ready, you can very slowly start to move your body, preparing yourself to come back into this miraculous existence, this miraculous life that you're leading. And if you don't feel that yet, that's okay. Come back to this, repeat it. You are miraculous, you are light, you are love, and you are loved. Feel that truth. Take one nice, deep, purposeful breath in through your nose. Sigh it out through your mouth. The truth of your identity is that you are a miracle, and you make miracles by living in your love, in your light. Satnam. As you're ready, you can open your eyes. Thank you so much for joining me this miraculous evening. Have a joyful rest of your evening and a miraculous rest of your week, and I will see you next week for Wind Down Wednesday.